Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ed Army, and today, as you can tell, we have another beginning deck. As it's time to dive into the final of the first mono-colored of our beginning deck series, as we're finally finishing with a color that we haven't touched yet, being the red color, as we are going to be diving into Jesmon. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, white is a color. However, we aren't talking about a white specific deck because there isn't really a good one for beginners, really. It's more of mid player, I think, is the best way to explain it. But we're diving into Jesmon, as this Royal Knight is a very good beginning deck for a lot of players, and is actually a great time for it to be a beginning deck, as a lot of its new support from BT20 will allow you as a new player to grab a hold of this deck and actually get a good middle ground start and be able to upgrade it as you choose, as Jesmon is a fantastic deck. But before I actually get into it, we have to go over the criteria, as we always do in Digimon decks for beginners. Starting out, our first criteria will always be that a beginning deck has to be straightforward and clear. I do think that when it comes to a deck, especially one for beginners, it should not be complicated. It should make sense. It should do a lot of what it says on the cards to make sense for its players, so they don't have to jump through hoops to understand what they're doing. And it's very clear that you are able to pilot the deck with minimal amounts of training in already understanding the rules and get to it. Additionally, we have an ease of use or easy to use decks, as I do think for a beginning deck, it should really be lifting the legs of its player, not being the other way around, having to have the player actually carry the thing on its back like a massive combo deck, as this deck does have combos, but we are going to keep it to its simplest roots here, but we can expand to the combos as we'll show you. But more importantly, ease of use is always a good thing, because you never want to start with a complicated deck, because a complicated deck could actually knock you from actually playing the game that you are trying to learn. And then finally, it has to be budget minded. I am a budget minded player myself. However, for a beginning deck, I always think that the best decks to pick are decks that are very cheap. This is mainly because if you learn to like the game with a cheaper deck or a strategy that you find for a good price, if you pay for an expensive deck and hate the game, then you're stuck with an expensive piece of junk in that direction. However, if you're playing with a more budget-minded focus for your first couple decks, you'll be able to understand how the game functions if you like it, and then if you so choose, you can upgrade the deck or change to other decks as you start to play the game more, as that's how I like to approach it. But finally, let's get into today's topic, as we were talking about Jesmon, as I said before, as Jesmon is going to be the main focus of today's Digimon deck for beginners. I've already said this, but I'm saying it again. Point is, we're going to be focusing on Jesmon and all of its related cards. So let's start off by talking about the game plan for Jesmon, as Jesmon's actually a rather straightforward deck and is going to be the pinnacle of my normal stats for game plans, as the main focus of this deck is to be aggressive and end the game as quickly as possible. Like many of the other decks that have already been featured in the Digimon deck for beginners series, I really like that Jesmon is probably the most pinnacle of quickly ending a game. It's basically been this way since its introduction into BT6, as this was a metagame staple and has been able to continuously come back to the metagame in different bursts, and it is always sticking to the same game plan. You want to hit hard, get there quickly, and end the game fast, as that's what Jesmon is trying to do. More importantly, with what you're doing, you're effectively filtering, and you want to search for your pieces as quickly as possible. You do this through many of your Digimon that you play in your deck, as well as generic search options, to get you to your boss Digimons quickly and set up good stacks, as you will be building stacks that can attack and end the game in one swing. This is mainly because you really want to just pressure your opponent. You want to put them on the back foot as quickly as possible, and you want to get to this position as fast as possible. Finally, you will also be able to establish your Sistermons, and they're going to be supporting your stack. The Sistermon line is designed to go hand in hand with Jesmon, and because of that, you will be trying your best to get the Sistermons to the field so that they can continuously support you, whether it's by blocking, gaining memory, DP. There's a lot they can offer, and there's a lot that you do by playing them. And then finally, you're going to be using the variety of effects to attack over and pierce through Digimon. You attack on suspended Digimon with certain effects, and your main goal is to simply either clear your opponent's field by being aggressive in control, but simultaneously also at the same time making sure that you're clearing security as quickly as possible so that you can get this game over with and done. So starting off, we're going to look at a Digimon lineup. So I have 2 eggs here for you today to look at. We have the normal level 2, which I think was always played in the deck until as of more recent, and that's going to be Gurimon from BT8. The main reason this one was played is because it was a generic draw, so that when attacking, if you had a Digimon with 6,000 DP or more, you would draw with this card. So that was the main reason people were playing Gurimon in Jesmon, is because it was just a free draw. However, thanks to the introduction of BT7 or BT14's Coralmon, this is the one of the eggs that kind of has been stealing the show, I think, for a lot of red decks because of its ability to, when you break a security or basically a card is removed from your opponent's security stack, you draw a card. So the main reason we would be playing Coralmon over Gurimon now is the choice of just simply being able to check security with a rookie now and being able to break the security technically, so you'll get a draw. But like I said, the reason I have Gurimon here still is that if you're a returning player or a player who maybe is looking for a budget, this is also an option because Coralmon from BT14 is like $1 or so. So if you really are trying to keep under budget, you can choose to play Gurimon. It's still suitable. Just remember, your rookies aren't going to be drawing anything if you want to just crash with them with an egg. But more importantly, we're moving into our rookie lineup. Starting off, we have our first lineup of the Huckmon line, because we have Huckmon, we have Jesmon, and then we also have the Sistermons, and that's Huckleberry, like Huck for Huckleberry. I hope people get the reference. Point is, we're starting off with the BT6 Huckmon, which has been a staple ever since its introduction. This on play for 3 costs will allow you to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and add up to 2 Digimon cards with either Huckmon, Jesmon, or Sistermon in their names to your hand. Very important. It's a double searcher looking for the top 5, and you put the rest on the bottom. Very strong. Moving into the BT7 Huckmon. Now this one is more designed to search for Sistermons, as when attacking for its inheritable once per turn, you reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, and then you get to add all Digimon cards with Sistermon among them to your hand. So really designed to just get you into grabbing more copies of Sistermon, and you reveal top 5, so it is really impactful. But this card has fallen out as of recent because you don't really necessarily need it, but there are some instances where besides just budget, you could play this card. It's actually not that bad. Additionally, we have Huckmon from ST12. Now, this one is interesting because you can choose to play this one because I still think it has a good application, but you could choose to not do it either, where during your turn, once per turn, when you play a Digimon with Sistermon in its name, you get to gain a memory for its main skill, and therefore it's inheritable during all turns, while this Digimon has Huckmon or in its name or the Royal Knight trait, it will be getting 1,000 DP. So it's always getting 1,000 DP during all turns as long as it's a Royal Knight or a Huckmon, which you're almost always doing in this deck. Additionally, we have the other 3 Huckmon that are in the game at the moment. We have first the BT13 Huckmon. Now this one is designed to go with its support, where when you would play during your turn a Digimon with Sistermon in its name, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Bao Huckmon in the hand without paying the cost. And then for its inheritable, during your turn, once per turn, when you play a Digimon with Sistermon in its name, you get to gain a memory. Then we also have the promo Security Huckmon. This one allows you at the end of battle, when it's checked to security, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 4,000 DP or less. But if you didn't delete, you get to draw a card, and then you add this card to the hand. Very unique. And additionally, we have finally the BT20 Huckmon. This one is really good at the start of your main phase by trashing one card with Huckmon or Sistermon in its name or the Royal Knight trait from your hand to the trash. You get to gain a memory and draw one card. Very good for filtering. And then finally, for its main inheritable, during your turn, all of your opponent's Digimon get 1,000 DP. Very solid card and very good to help fix the bricking issue of this deck. Moving into the Bao Huckmons. The Bao Huckmons are a little bit less in terms of their appearances, but they're still solid nonetheless, as we have Bao Huckmon from BT6. This one is when attacking once per turn. If you have a Digimon with Sistermon in its name in play, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP or less. That effect is actually still pretty serviceable because 5,000 DP is actually a pretty good threshold to blow stuff up. And then we have the Bao Huckmon from ST12, where during all turns, while this Digimon has Huckmon in its name or the Royal Knight trait, it gains 1,000 DP during all turns. Very good. And then we also have the BT13 Bao Huckmon. Now this one, during your turn, when you play a Digimon with Sistermon in its name, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Savior Huckmon in the hand for the Digi-Evolution cost. But when you would Digivolve with this effect, or by this effect, you reduce that Digi-Evolution by 2. So very cool. And additionally, for its inheritable, your turn once per turn. When you play a Digimon with Sistermon in its name, you gain 1 memory. As you can tell, many of the Bauhucks and the Huckmons actually share the same inheritables and somewhat similar skills, so it's kind of a theme going on with them. And then finally, when we move into the BT20, a Bauhuckmon, this one is actually fantastic, as you'll see later on. For its main effect, once per turn, you may play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon or Genkumon in its name from your hand with the play cost reduced by 2. And then during your turn for its inheritable, all of your Digimon get 1000 DP. So very cool. Now we'll move into Savior Huckmons, and honestly, the Savior Huckmons are all pretty stellar for the most part. Even the one that we'll first cover being the BT6 Savior Huckmon has actually spent time on the ban list, if you do not know. But the most important thing about this card is that when Digivolving, you get to play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon in its name from your hand without paying the cost. And then for its massive when attacking effect for its inheritable, once per turn, if you have a Digimon with Sistermon in its name in play, you may unsuspend this Digimon. Moving into the ST12 Savior Huckmon, this one has its when Digivolving effect to allow this Digimon to attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon for the turn, so very cool. For its inheritable, when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has the Royal Knight in its traits, you may play 1 Digimon with Sistermon in its name from your hand or trash without paying the cost. So very cool. And finally, we will be moving into the Savior Huckmon from BT13. This one allows you to, during your turn, when you play a Digimon with Sistermon in its name, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card with Jesmon in its name from your hand with a Digi-Evolution cost reduced by 2. So very cool. And then for its inheritable, when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has the Royal Knight trait, you may play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon in its name from your hand or trash without paying the memory cost, meant to match up pretty much with the ST12 Savior Huckmon, so very cool. Finally, we will be touching on the BT20's Savior Huckmon. This one is actually very cool because it is very important for the new combo of Jesmon. We're on play, and when Digivolving, you delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5000 DP or less, so still solid. At the end of your turn, by suspending one of your other Digimon, this Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card with Jesmon in its name in the hand without paying the cost. And for its inheritable, during your turn, this Digimon with the Royal Knight trait gains Alliance, so very cool. Moving into the Jesmons now, we actually have a grand total of 4 Jesmons and 2 X variants for its evolutions. Starting off, we have the Jesmon from BT6. Now, this one isn't played as much anymore. However, you can choose to play it if you so feel like it, because it's still somewhat solid for what it is. So starting off, when you are attacking with this card, it can play out a Sistermon without paying the memory cost, so very solid. And then during your turn, when you would play another Digimon by effect, you are able to gain 3000 DP and gain piercing for the turn. So this turns Jesmon effectively into a 14k piercer, and it plays a Digimon down, so it's actually pretty cool. Additionally, with the ST12 Jesmon, this is currently the one that in most builds, in budget builds, you will be focusing on, because this card is still pretty much undefeated for what it is, because it's still just a solid card. It carries Blitz as its innate skill, but more importantly, when attacking, you may play 1 Digimon with Sistermon in its name from your hand without paying the memory cost, so very solid. But then once per turn, when you would play a Digimon card by effect, you will be gaining 4000 DP and security attack plus 1. So it turns this Jesmon into a massive double breaker that can jump really high in DP. And then we also have the BT13 Jesmon. Now, I'll be honest, this one doesn't see as much play. However, this one is a tech option, because I do think this card actually isn't that bad. We're on play, and when Digivolving, you could target a number of your opponent's Digimon up to the total of 6000 DP, and then you would delete them. However, for every other Digimon you have in play, you add 2000 to that DP's effect maximum. So it's really good to have a lot of Digimon, because this effect can blow up a lot of stuff. Additionally, too, for its all turns effect, for each of your other Digimon with Sistermon in its name or the Royal Knight trait, this Digimon gets 1000 DP. So this Digimon can effectively sit comfortably at like usually 12 or 13,000, so it's still important to have, but very solid nonetheless. Talking about the final Jesmon before we get to the Jesmon X, we have BT20's Jesmon. Now, this one's actually really important because this one now enables the deck to do bigger combos really quickly. So, more importantly, on play when Digivolving, you get to play a token, an Amo, Rene, and I think something token. I forgot the last name. But the point is, you get to play a token out. It'll have Reboot, Blocker, and Decoy for red and black. But the most important factor is for its effect here, where at the end of your turn, sorry, it's not an end of your turn effect. I'm thinking about Savior Huckmon. This effect is during your turn once per turn. When any of your other Digimon are played, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 8,000 DP or less. Then one of your Digimon attacks. So pretty much this is designed to go in combination with Savior Huckmon's effect to Digivolve into this, play a token, but then you're not actually done because then you will immediately trigger an attack. So it's very important to understand that. I just wanted to make that clear because BT20 Jesmon actually is a massive step forward for the deck because it does allow it to kind of have another pseudo blitz Digimon, but more importantly, it can actually pressure your opponent a lot. So moving into the first of the other Jesmon, we have Jesmon X's. So starting off with the first Jesmon X from BT10, this one can Digivolve on top of Jesmon for 0. It carries Piercing as its innate skill, and then when Digivolving, you may play one Digimon card with Sistermon in its name from your hand or trash without paying the cost. Then if Jesmon is in this Digimon's Digievolution cards, or you have a Digimon with Sistermon in name in play, until the end of your opponent's turn, all of your Digimon may also attack unsuspended Digimon, and they get 2,000 DP. So very cool. This card is still usable for sure. You can replace it because we are going to be talking about the next one being the next Jesmon X. But like I said, you can definitely keep this one in as the next Jesmon X steps into play. This one Digivolves on top of Jesmon for a cost of 1, and it carries Alliance as its innate skill. For its when Digivolving effect, if Jesmon or X antibody is in this Digimon's Digievolution cards for the turn, one of your Digimon isn't affected by your opponent's effects, then one of your Digimon may attack. Very cool. And then for its other effect, during your turn, all of your Digimon with Sistermon in their names or the Royal Knight trait gain Piercing and can't attack, or sorry, can also attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. So taking the last Jesmon X effect and just kind of ramping it up a little bit, but you don't play anything. And then finally it has the inheritable that during your turn, while this Digimon is Jesmon GX, all of your Digimon gain Piercing and can also attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. So very, very cool. Now we're going to be talking about GX and the other level 7s. So Jesmon GX is basically for its main when Digivolving effect. You may place one level or one Digimon with the Royal Knight trait with a play cost of 13 or less from your trash as this Digimon's bottom evolution source. Then you are able to trigger it to use one of those on that card's when Digivolving effects as this card's when Digivolving effect. So very cool. Additionally, it can then blitz. Then during all turns, while this Digimon has a Digimon with the Royal Knight trait in its sources, it will be able to have Piercing, and it has Blocker, and it gains Security Attack +1 for each such card. So for every Royal Knight in its sources, it's going to be able to do one more check. So very cool. Then we go into Jesmon GX Ace. This one can Blast Digivolve specifically, but also can DNA with a Genkumon level 6 and a Jesmon level 6. The key factor of this card is that for its on play, when Digivolve and when attacking effect, you may place one Digimon card with the Royal Knight trait into its sources, and then it can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much DP or less as this Digimon. So 16,000 DP is a good source amount. And then finally, for its when attacking effect, for every 2 Royal Knight trait Digimon in its sources, you can trash the top of your opponent's security card, so you're able to pop more than one. And additionally, we have Blitz Omni here, which kind of works as our pseudo boss because it really does well with the blitzing mechanic of the effects of the Jesmon. Now we're going to move into the Sistermons really quickly, as it's not very complicated for them because you still need to play them because they do a lot for the deck. First, both BT6 Sistermon Blanc and then Sistermon Seal. For those in the OCG, you would have Sistermon Noir. For Sistermon Blanc, the main thing is that when you play this card, it will trigger or draw one. But more importantly, while you have a Huckmon or a Digimon with a Royal Knight trait, this Digimon gains Blocker, so very cool. Additionally, all your Sistermons actually gain Blocker, so I just want to make that clear. Sistermon Seal will let you gain a memory when it's played, But additionally, all of your Digimon with Huckmon in their traits or the Royal Knight trait get 2000 DP during all turns. Very cool. BT10 Sistermon Seal allows you to, during your turn, if it's your turn, on play, you get to target one of your Digimon, and it may Digivolve into a Digimon card with the Royal Knight trait in your hand for its Digi-Evolution cost. But then, during your turn, once per turn, when one of your Digimon would Digivolve into a Digimon card with Huckmon in its name or the Royal Knight trait, it gains one memory. You gain one memory, so very solid. And then finally, our ST12, Sistermon Blanc and Sistermon Seal are here. Main reason for these two is that both of them are filter cards. The ST12 Sistermon Blanc allows you to pitch one card to draw two. It carries Decoy as its main skill. The ST12 Sistermon Seal here allows you to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and then add one card with Huckmon or the Royal Knight and its traits from your basically of your revealed cards to your hand. And then additionally, it carries Reboot and gives Reboot to all your Digimon with Royal Knight or Sistermons, so very cool. Huckmon, so very cool. Additionally, the final and only option you realistically have to play in this deck as a mandatory is going to be from Master to Disciple. This card allows you to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add one card with the following, either Huckmon, a Sistermon, or a card with the Royal Knight and its traits from among them to your hand. Then you trash the rest, and then this card gets placed into the battle area for its delay effect during your main during your turn. You're able to delay effectively, use this card as a reduced evolution cost for your next Digi-Evolution, so then you'll reduce it by 1, so very good. And then it has basically the same effect as its main effect for its security effect. Okay, so we're going to be jumping into our combo segment here, and I'm going to be showing you how to play a good amount of the deck for the standard combos and some advanced ones. So we're going to do just a really quick way to showcase why Save Your Huckmon is so important after it came off the ban list. So starting off, we're going to be going ahead and showing you what you can do with Save Your Huckmon. So we're going to be using the BT6 Save Your Huckmon on top of this Greymon here. We're going to go ahead and Digivolve it up so that we are able to use its effect. So we're going to go ahead and play out a Sistermon. We're going to play out Sistermon Seal here. The main reason we're doing this is so that we'll trigger both its effect and the BT13 Huckmon Inheritables effect here, where since Seal was played, you'll gain a memory, and since you played a Sistermon, you'll also gain a memory. So you'll go from 0 to 2. Here, you're going to proceed to maybe Digivolve into something like this Jesmon, for instance, and go ahead and Digivolve into the ST12 Jesmon. The main reason we're doing this is to show the combo power of the deck. So when you Digivolve into it, you'll obviously pass to memory, but you'll be able to blitz here. So you'll blitz, play out Sistermon Blanc, which is important. You'll draw a card from the Blanc, but more importantly, with Jesmon's effect, you'll gain that security attack +1, and you'll be able to gain that extra DP. This is important because, as you know, what's going to happen is you'll be able to unsuspend thanks to the effect of the Save Your Huckmon. So Jesmon will be in active technically when it does the check, but more importantly, it will be able to have an additional security check. So it'll be doing 3 checks here, which is very important to do damage to your opponent. But I'll also showcase, for instance, say you didn't pass the turn and you're able to perform this check without passing memory, you'll unsuspend the Jesmon and then proceed to do another check. Loaded up in the back is something like Blitz Omni, which is very important because what you'll do is you'll just simply Digivolve into it, pass 4 memory back to your opponent, and you'll finish the game. Because if Jesmon performs both of its checks with 3 security checks, it will obviously do 6 checks, and then it'll finish the game with Blitz Omni as your final attack. So very cool. Finally, we're going to talk about combo 2, or like the second combo I have here. We're going to showcase how good ST12 is, but also showcasing how important Jesmon X from BT20 is. So we'll have a similar setup as before, but we have the others in line in hand. It's always important with this deck to get your pieces lined up. And then you're going to go ahead and do the same thing we did before. We're going to go ahead and Digivolve, for instance. The Sistermon is online because you've obviously had played it out from the effect of the Save Your Huckmon. And then we're going to go ahead and attack. Now, the main reason we're changing it up here is that we have the BT10 Sistermon Seal. So this one will allow you to Digivolve, for instance. So what this one's going to allow you to do is Digivolve into something like the actual Jesmon X here from BT20. The reason this is so important is that Jesmon X can make one of your Digimon unaffected for the turn. So you're going to choose to give it to itself. So it'll perform the 3 checks that it's already going to be able to do, but it's going to be unaffected. So if it hits a security bomb, who cares? Or a Digimon that has security effects, it's whatever. And you also gain a memory back from Sistermon Seal. So very important. Additionally, if you did not pass turn, this becomes insane because now you will be able to perform an additional check with Alliance, because this carries Alliance. So you'll do 3 checks. You'll still be able to do 3 checks, but then you'll Alliance it for a 4th check. And like before, combine that with Blitz Omni, and you're off to the races. Now, additionally, we have our 3rd combo here, and this one's going to focus on pretty much the importance of the new cards out of BT20. So starting off, we have Savior Huckmon and the new Jesmon from BT20. Basically, what you're going to want to do with this setup is a bit similar to before, but a bit different at the same time. So the main reason is you're going to bring out Greymon. Say, for instance, you're not able to have that much memory because you don't have a memory setter. That's fine. We're going to proceed to immediately Digivolve the Greymon into the new Savior Huckmon, passing a memory. Then with its effect, you'll go ahead and try to blow up something. However, at the end of your turn, you're going to trigger its effect to suspend your Systemon block and go ahead and Digivolve up. You're then going to Digivolve into the brand new BT20 Jesmon here. Then this one will allow you to play a token. I'm just using the new Systemon Seal Awakened as a token, for instance. You'll play out a token, and you'll then proceed to blow up another Digimon, or try to with Jesmon's effect. However, then you're going to proceed to attack. Now that you have Savior Huckmon in sources, you'll trigger Alliance, suspend that token, and that token will allow you to do a big check. So very solid there. Finally, we'll go into our 4th combo here. This one's just to show you how the new combo for the BT20 support works. Starting off, we're going to have a similar setup as before, but we're going to start with Bao Huckmon. Bao Huckmon for BT20 is really huge here, because what we're going to proceed to do is go ahead and have Genkumon in hand. Now you're thinking, well, what are you going to do with Genkumon? We're about to show you. So we're going to perform this play by doing this. So you're going to play out Genkumon, because its own effect will allow you to reduce its play cost by 4, because you have a Digimon with Huckmon in play. And then because of the effect of Savior Huckmon, you're actually going to use its effect as well to play the Genkumon from hand. So you'll combine both of those play cost reduction effects, 2 from the cost of Bauhuck, 4 from the cost of Genkumon. Since Genkumon's a 12 cost Mega, you'll play it out for 6. Now you're thinking, well, that was okay, but what's next? However, Genkumon's effect will trigger. It'll allow you to Digivolve your Digimon, and you're going to be Digivolving your Bauhuck into Savior for free. Savior will perform the same effect it did before. You'll go and suspend Genkumon to Digivolve into our Jesmon from BT20. Then Jesmon's effect will trigger, playing a token. Then you'll perform an Alliance check this way. But the key factor here is that once this is actually performed and you perform this security check with Alliance, this is designed for 2 multiple reasons. The main reason you're setting this up is so that you actually are able to keep both Megas on field, so that if for whatever reason you're able to go ahead and keep memory, or vice versa, set up, you now have access to basically get your opponent to be baited into acing. So you have a Jesmon GX ace in your hand. So if they attack you, you're going to be able to go ahead and blast Digivolve on either of them. Also, you have a blocker to protect them in the form of the token, because it does have reboot and blocker. And finally, if you have not passed turn, you will then DNA with both of them into your brand new GX Ace. So pretty much you'll be able to put on a powerhouse Digimon and pressure them for game. So very solid. But let's talk about now the deck list, because I actually have 3 for you here today. So for our deck list, starting off with the first one, this one is a very simple OTK version. This is also the more, I think, in my opinion, the most budget version, where you just go for OTKs. You can switch out your eggs for Koromon or Gurimon, whichever one you choose to play. But the point is, it wants you to get into OTKing and get it done quickly. So that's that one, and it is on our bottom budget. It's cheaper. For our second one, it is a bit more expensive because we are dialing it up. It's a little bit more combo-centric as well, because we add the GX Aces and the GXs, if you want to, into the deck, so that you can kind of focus on getting into GX combos a bit more. So there is that strategy there if you want to do it. And then finally, our third one is going to be GX Turbo. So this one is definitely more focused. Greymon is removed completely so that you have more consistency with your cards. And we even switch over to our ST12 Sistermons, because we want to search for our cards and dig as quickly as possible to find pieces, and that is its ultimate goal, is to get you to GX as quickly as possible. So you want to filter as fast as you can, and you max out on your GXs because you want to see them quickly, but you also run Genkumon, so that is an interesting addition. Finally, with the deck prices here, we have like 25 for the first one, because that one's a bit easier to have. Now some of the prices are a little higher because you are getting cards that are going to be staples like the Huckmon from BT6. That card's like $1. It's mostly because it's expensive. Some cards are like $1, so you can kind of change around how you want to do the budget, but $25 will pretty much get you everything you need to do the basic version of the strategy that I showcased. If you want to go for a more higher end, $45 is actually not an unreasonable number here. This is mostly because if you include everything new you need, you also will have to include cards like GX if you're able to get it for some type of cheap price. It is not very cheap price for the secret rare one. However, GX Ace is a suitable replacement to an extent, but you do have to play the deck a bit differently. But like I said, it is up to you. Those are the prices for it. They fluctuate from there, but I think as a beginning deck, the $25 total one is definitely a fun way to play, and then as you upgrade your deck, you definitely can step up to the higher tier brackets as you choose to play Jesmon. But guys, that's all I've got for you guys today. This has been a Digimon deck for beginners of how to play Jesmon. This was really fun to do because this deck is a fan favorite. And as always, guys, this has been Brad from the Ed Army signing off, and for all of you out there, to sign on.